Hi, I'm Kristyn Burtt for LifeScript.com. Summertime means fun in the sun, but too much sun exposure can set you up for skin cancer. Emmy award-winning broadcaster Joe Buck knows that skin cancer is serious business. His mother was diagnosed with melanoma, the most dangerous form of skin cancer, several years ago. He's joining us now, along with Dr. Abel Torres, the current president of the American Academy of Dermatology, to talk about skin cancer prevention and detection. Hi, Joe. Hi, Dr. Torres. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Kristyn.
Joe, I know this is a personal story for you. Tell us why you're talking about melanoma.
Yeah, well, it's very personal. My mom was diagnosed with melanoma a few years back. And, you know, it hit us all out of the blue like it would any family. Thankfully, she got it checked early. She detected it herself, went in and had it taken care of. And that's really the message we're sending out here today, is that with early detection, with being diligent, with being smart about how to protect yourself from the sun, this is something that's highly treatable and beatable. But when you realize the statistics, which Dr. Torres will go through, this is something that's going to touch everybody's life at some point, and that's why when they asked, I was excited to jump on board.
This question is for both of you. As a female, the skin cancer message is often delivered in our skincare and makeup regimen. Why isn't that same message being given to men?
She's exactly right.
Absolutely. So, you know, men that are older than 50 have a higher risk of skin cancer. And surveys have shown that men are not as familiar with some of the information as it relates to the damage of ultraviolet light and as to protective issues in terms of how to protect yourself from skin cancer.
Dr. Torres, what do people need to know about melanoma?
So first of all, they need to take it seriously. They need to understand that skin cancer itself is the most common cancer, and there are about 8,500 skin cancers that are diagnosed daily, and melanoma kills a person every hour. So the thing is, though, that it's preventable in the sense that the risk factor of ultraviolet light from the sun or tanning parlors is something that we can avoid, and that's one way to protect yourself. The other thing is the American Academy of Dermatology recommends 3 tips when you're outside. First, seek shade, especially during the hours of 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. when the sun is strongest. 2, use protective clothing such as long sleeves, a wide brim hat, and sunglasses. And then 3, for the exposed skin, use a broad spectrum water resistant sunscreen that has an SPF of 30 or greater and reapply it every 2 hours, especially after swimming or sweating excessively.
Joe, I know you work in a variety of environments as a broadcaster. How has your skincare routine changed?
Completely. It used to be something that I would pay attention to only when I was going out to play golf, but now it's just a part of my daily routine. Again, you know, I think we can all get lazy with this, and that's another part of the message, is to stay after it. And I've got 2 daughters, and part of being a parent was always protecting my kids from the sun. And it's now reminding my kids who are 20 and 17 to protect themselves from the sun. But yeah, it's a part of my daily routine, just like brushing my teeth and you know, getting ready and getting dressed for the day. It has to be.
Dr. Torres, how can we detect melanoma and other forms of skin cancer before we step into that doctor's office?
So what you want to do is spot it early, because if you spot the skin cancer early, even melanoma is highly treatable. So what you need to do is do frequent skin self-examinations so that you can detect the signs and symptoms of skin disease. And I recommend that you do it with a partner. I mean, this is where women can play a really strong role in terms of helping men as well, so that each of you can look at each other's back and have each other's back as it relates to this. And you can spot the warning symptoms of signs and symptoms of melanoma and abnormal moles by looking and following the ABCDs. The A is for asymmetry. Does one side of the mole look the same as the other? Are the borders irregular or are they fuzzy? Is the color varying in terms of from tan to brown to dark? And is the diameter more than 6 millimeters, which is the size of a pencil eraser, which is about when you spot melanoma, although it can be smaller. The key point, though, is that if any mole is changing, if it looks different than the other, that's what we call evolution. If you see that, if you see signs and symptoms of itching, burning, bleeding, anything like that, then you should make an appointment with a board-certified dermatologist for a full evaluation. And you can also go to the website spotme.org, where people can find out more information about this.
How is melanoma typically treated if it's caught early?
So the typical treatment is to cut it out. And that's why catching it early is so important, because if you catch melanoma when it's very, very thin, the prognosis is excellent. If you catch melanoma after it's had a chance to grow and become thicker, then the prognosis becomes much more difficult. Surgery is the mainstay of getting rid of the melanoma. Fortunately, now there have been a lot of advances in other therapies for melanoma, so we can treat it afterwards, but the side effects and other things are still an issue. So if we can catch it early, we can avoid all those problems.
Joe, how is your mom doing now?
She's doing great. Thanks for asking. But still paying attention to it. You know, she's friends with her dermatologist and probably drives him crazy, asking him all the time what everything looks like as far as spots on her skin. But I'm glad she's that way, and I'm glad I'm that way as well. I inherited that gene from her of worrying about what I'm seeing. So good for her, but thanks, she's doing well.
Joe, can you tell us where we can go to find out more information?
Spotme.org, and that not only will give you all the information, but you can line yourself up for a free screening in your area, so it's worth a visit.
Joe and Dr. Torres, thank you so much for joining us at LifeScript today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kristyn.